Hello, you to the tube. What's up? It's the Pharmacy Seeds Network live stream Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Kind of tired, kind of busy. We're probably going to keep this one fairly short tonight. We'll see if there's any check-ins for the net here in a minute. We'll roll from there. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any check-ins, please call now.
Good evening, CJ. K2LD, Bob's here. How you doing?
Hey, Bob. I'm doing okay. How are you today? Tonight.
I'm doing fine. Just got out of work. I spent a little time at Home Depot picking up a couple things for some projects I'm running on and heading back. And
Hi,
took
Chris.
this time, I said, well, now I could actually maybe ask a couple
That's
questions
okay.
because I'm
Thanks for
still
checking
in
in.
prime time radio area here until I'm still actually in Kingston, so I should have a good signal for a while.
Very good, very good. Well, let's just real quick see if there's any other check-ins, but then we'll pick it right back up with you while we got you in good coverage. This is KD2 IIN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. All right, pick it up, Bob.
Okay, I got a couple of fig tree questions.
Uh-oh.
You know I'm doing that little project,
Hey, Kiki.
and one of my
That's you,
trees
right? Yeah.
is indoors in the quasi-greenhouse, and the other one is outdoors. The outdoor one is starting to go dormant. It's down to like 3 leaves, and is getting ready for its winter rest. I am not going to keep it outdoors over the winter because I'm sure it'll die from the cold I have up by me. But I have a couple of questions to go with that. I'll drop for a second. Okay. I wanted to go dormant for a little bit just to see the difference between keeping it green inside and letting it go dormant and then making spring happen again. Any suggestions to how much time I should let it go dormant in a cold area before I bring it back to a warm, lighted area? Number one. Number two, I'd like to do some cuttings from these trees. Is it better to cut from the dormant or from the live? And at what point should I do the cuttings from? Is it better towards spring or better towards fall, or what do you suggest on something like that?
All right. I don't have a tremendous amount of knowledge around fig trees specifically, but as far as dormancy goes, I would say I would give it like a cool, dark place until like January, and then pull it out and respawn from there. I would think that would be sufficient time for it to feel like it's been through a winter dormancy period. As far as cuttings should be done on most stuff in the springtime, preferably from the lower part of the plant where there are more rooting hormones, and usually either green cuttings or you can take hard cuttings. It depends on what you're doing, but definitely springtime is the best time for that, when that new growth comes on and gets big enough that you can take a cutting from that, because that's nice, fresh, new growth, healthy growth, and it'll replicate and catch root, so to speak, easier.
You're saying to cut from the fresh green growth, not the woody stuff?
Well, you should really look up on taking cuttings of figs specifically, because I don't know figs that well. But whether they're hard cuttings or green cuttings, I would look for new growth on the ends of those cuttings. And you could try experimenting with taking some green cuts and some hardwood cuts and see which perform better. But I would definitely read up on that, like do a Google search. I'm sure there's lots and lots of articles around it. But in general, when taking cuttings, springtime is better than fall for most stuff.
Okay, yeah, I did do a little research on it so far, and there's different ways of doing it to make the roots happen. And do you suggest a rooting hormone that they they have to help that go along?
If I recall correctly, you're running the Neutralive Grow package from AEA, right?
Run that one more time. You went too quick on that.
Are you running the Neutralive Grow package from Advancing Eco Agriculture?
No, I am not. The only sizes I saw were more for industrial people. I just didn't think I would use it in time, that it just wouldn't be a waste for me.
Okay, they do have one that's more gardener oriented and less crop and life cycle of that particular crop specific, and it's called the Neutralive package. There's a grow and a vitality. I would get the grow and vitality package. It's a gallon of each. I would use that in place of rooting hormones, because that has all the hormones and all the trace mineral nutrition and all the macro and micronutrients that are necessary. And I've had really good results with using that this summer as my base nutrient.
I hate to bug you for a favor, but do you think you could shoot me an email with that name on it? Because I'm driving and I'll never remember.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Next question for you before you go check for other check-ins is, if I'm successful to do the rooting on this and I actually propagate some plants,
Yes,
would you
please.
like some?
I was saying yes, please, even before you asked. Yeah, even just one would be awesome. I could propagate from that. But yes, please, if you would, that'd be great.
Then I certainly will consider it a challenge to get it done.
Fantastic. Yeah, I find I used to use rooting hormones, but I find that if you get the right nutrition there, that nutrition has natural hormones, and those much more mimic or match the plants or seeds or cuttings requirements.
Okay, how did your crops do overall this summer?
Very well. Very well. I scaled back my size a little bit and kind of focused on things a little more. Things did well. We had excellent growing season. I brought that Neutralive package in for my base nutrient. That made a tremendous difference. And near the end of the summer, I did some plant sap testing. And I've yet to get back and actually do the editing on that video, to do the YouTube video for that. But that gave me some excellent information about how to tweak things around here to really improve performance even better. But even with that, the little bit of tweaks that I did based on that just at the end of the season, actually I still have tomatoes, and we've had 2 frosts down below 31 degrees.
A couple times too, but the only thing that's still left is basically parsley. I was checking out some of your videos. The one with the bees, you got like a couple pounds of wax and a whole lot of honey. Is that normally the ratio that you get on those things?
Yeah. Sorry for the delay there. I'm having a power connector keeps pulling out on the radio here. Yeah, typically it depends on how you process it. You know, I put all new foundations in my frames this year, and so the bees had to draw those out. They basically have to make wax and draw those combs out before they can fill them with honey, and so that takes them a lot of energy, time, and extra work. So I just uncap those and spin them out, and I leave that comb intact. So the next year they don't have to build all that out. They actually have that existing. Had I taken all that wax out of there, I probably would get a lot more. I probably would have gotten, I don't know, maybe I'm just guessing off the top of my head, maybe 5 or 8 or 10 pounds of wax for, say, the 110 pounds of honey I got. But yeah, it's a pretty low ratio. KD2IIN.
Yeah, it just seemed surprising that it was so little wax to the enormous amount of honey. But I guess you're just getting it going, so it takes a while to get up to full production.
It does, and also in getting that little wax, it makes me think maybe I'll do one like medium-sized frame and not put any foundations in, but just put little starter strips in for them to go from, and let them build comb in that, and then do a crush and harvest both the honey and the wax out of it, so I get a little bit more wax production. And I'm thinking I'll probably put that up on top, so that's like the latest thing in the season after they've filled out the bigger honey supers.
Pretty good. It's always interesting to watch those videos. If you want to check for other check-ins, go right ahead. I don't want to hog the whole thing.
I'm glad to have you along. Glad to catch up with you, and glad to have good farming, gardening conversation topics. So excellent. But yeah, let's do a quick check-in. This is Katie2 N Net Control for Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No, looks like a quiet one tonight. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, because I'm already in Saugerties, so not going to be going much longer.
That's right.
So I'll keep it going as I can. I did manage to do some garlic this year. It came out pretty decent, and I was happy with that. And I had more carrots than I knew what to do with. It was pretty amazing. I did it as a lark. I had no idea if they were even going to grow. I just threw some seeds on the ground, and they just grew like gangbusters. Here's K2BHM.
K2BHM recognized. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad you had good success with carrots, and that sounds like your soil is good for them. So that's a nice, easy one to grow. I love carrots. I actually meant to get some carrots in this year, but I ran out of space before I got to putting carrot seed down, so it didn't happen.
It was an absolutely leave-alone type of crop for me. I just threw it in and let it go, and other than occasional watering, I really didn't do anything fancy or exotic to it. How you doing, Jim?
Good. I just wanted to pop a question in and let you guys battle it out. You're talking about the wax to honey ratio. And as a totally uninformed observer, isn't the wax the glass jar and the honey is the content? So shouldn't that ratio be that way normally? Go ahead.
Well, yes, but I only took the lids of the jar, so to speak.
Okay, I'm just asking a question, not knowing what's going on. Carry on.
You might have to do the carrying on for me because I'm getting to the end of the rope right here.
All right, very good. Well, we will bid you farewell before you lose range on us. You're welcome to continue anyway. Yeah, I actually see it more as like little wax barrels, because if you think about it, about the scale compared to the bee, it's more like us standing next to a 55-gallon drum, and then using our tongue to transfer honey into it or out of it, and then sealing it up with wax with our teeth. It's an interesting process when you think about it from that perspective.
Do you have anything in there as a foundation for them to start the combs on, or are they just wing it all on their own?
Well, you can put it in and hopefully sort of control where they make and how they make comb, and if you don't, they'll make comb, and sometimes they do a really nice parallel job, and sometimes they make comb that goes crazy all over the place. The one medium I didn't put frames back into when I harvested earlier this season, and by the end of the season they had made all kinds of crazy comb in it. And actually, that's where a good portion of that 2.2 pounds of wax that came out came from. It was more from that than it was from the cappings.
So you just sacrifice the craziness.
Yeah, sacrificed the craziness, pressed out the honey. It wasn't capped yet, so I doubt it was low enough moisture content for storage, so I basically just put that as priority number one for use, and it's gone.
All right. Well, I'm getting to the point of where it's going to start really fading here, so I will bid you both adieu. K12D will be clear, but listening. all the way as far as I can. So appreciate the talk. Always great to hear both of you, and we'll carry on. K12D.
All right, cheers, Bob. Great to hear from you. Great to catch you in a longer shot zone, so to speak. And glad to catch up, and glad your figs are doing well. Looking forward to seeing if you can make some cuttings. Anyway, have a safe rest of your trip home, and thanks for joining the net. I'll pass it over to Jim, K2BHM.
Hi guys, no, I just wanted to toss a topic out there that you guys can chew around while Bob was still in range, and maybe shed some light on the subject. That's all I was looking for.
All right, Jim, your signal went pretty scratchy there at the end. You were still readable, but quite a bit of fluctuation.
No, I don't see a battery indication. Single battery.
Sounds like either some sort of interference getting taken in by the radio, or maybe just antenna position.
Let's see. Need to see if I can figure out how to put it up the notch and power.
Alright, meantime, we'll do one last check-in for the net here. This is KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No check-ins recognized at this time. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, here's high powers. Make any difference?
Much better.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, nothing much to report on this end. I was just kind of reading the mail and thought I'd throw in a comment.
Very good, very good. Well, I appreciate the check-in. How are things on your end? All good?
Yeah, doing good this way. I've been basically fighting the Raspberry Pi project for the last several days that I've been working on for 4 years, and finally figured it out.
Ah, good. What'd you figure out?
Well, about 4 years ago, I made some webcams using Pi 2s and a camera interface, and then something else to interface it to buttons to control the pan and the tilt of the camera, and then a servo program and so forth. That worked fine. And I found out basically that was only good with Raspbian Jessie and the Pi 2. Any updates and everything was broken. And I've been playing around for 4 years and finally figured out what the problem was and got it working.
Ah, very good. So what did it boil down to? K2I.
Well, everything was written around Raspbian Jessie, and that was good because it worked good with the Pi 2. But when I tried to upgrade to Wheezy or Stretch or whatever, it broke. And it turns out that the libraries that they use changed. And one of the calls that they used wasn't in that library anymore. You had to go to a different library. And so now you have to include a different library in order to make that function work.
I told you there was a solution to it. I just had to do some research and some digging.
Yeah, and it was sheer luck because there was Jessie and then two other ones came out since then, and now the newest one is Buster. And so I figured, well, let me try it with Buster with the new Raspberry Pi 3. And by sheer luck, as 100 lines of code were flying by, I caught this one error, and then Googled it, and that led me to the idea that, well, this command isn't included in this library anymore. You need that library. So you include that in your list of libraries to load in, and kind of precipitated the final fix along with a bunch of other things.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you got it sorted out. And yeah, I went through several different renditions with Python too. They've upgraded that a few times, and so I got it. So most of my code includes Python 2 and 3 both now.
Yeah, it's difficult because you get something working good, and then they go and update it and so forth, and commands that you call are no longer included in the libraries, but you have no clue. And when you're doing stuff with somebody else's software that you're concatenating together from 3 or 4 different sources, it can get pretty messy because this program calls 3 or 4 others, and then one of the programs that calls 3 or 4 others, and geometric progression. You could be looking at 100 different programs possibly going wrong.
Oh yeah, I know. They did that with MySQL recently. They went to MariaDB for the interface, and so now all sorts of commands are broken on all sorts of interfaces. And like, I look at that and I go, as a coder, why wouldn't you try to just keep those commands doing the same thing? If you're gonna improve something, improve it. Don't go changing stuff that works. Yeah, geeky. Yeah.
You
damn programmers.
That's a Windows thing. Do upgrades and break everything so that you have to go back to the software manufacturers and buy their updates and this and the other thing. Linux has usually been pretty good about maintaining backward compatibility, but if they drop
not
the
everything
ball.
works like that. In all fairness, they have been pretty good about it, but man, when they do something like that, it's just like, come on, man, really? Really? But it is what it is. Anyway, I'm glad you sorted it out. That's awesome.
Yeah, because several guys expressed interest on it and so forth, so I got to put together some updated documentation on what I did and put it out for the guys.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that, and hopefully over the winter, once I get some other things straightened out in the greenhouse, I can go back and do some upgrades on the. I lost my train of thought. Do the upgrade to switch over to the solid state drive and all that sort of stuff, and add Arduinos and all that. So there'll be lots to talk about that later down the road, or later down the waveguide, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, Jennifer White.
Yeah, ever
Welcome.
since Stretch, things have been easy. You've got your operating system on the SD card, and there's an app there.
That's
You
why,
go and
geeky.
click on,
Okay.
I don't know, accessories or whatever, and
Thanks,
one
geeky.
of the subdirectories has SD card copier, and you plug in a USB hard
I
drive.
have the write-up on it, too.
And click on that and select the SD card as a source and the hard drive as a destination, and to go and copy everything over on the hard drive for you. And then you go and point to the hard drive and a couple configuration files, and you're there. You're running off the hard drive.
Yeah, I know. I read the paper on it that you wrote. I just haven't had a chance to actually do it. I've been busy getting ready for winter here, but it is what it is.
Well, it's confirmed. I've done it several times now, and it works. So that's
Right,
pretty
that
much
doesn't take your whole greenhouse down if it doesn't work.
sure thing there.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but if I mess it up and it doesn't work, it takes my whole greenhouse operation down, so that's a little more critical.
Yeah, Well, I do this other little trick. The configuration files that you have to move,
You just copy.
I take the original ones and copy them as the file name .bak, and then go and edit them and then save them as what they need to be. So if anything craps out, you can always take the card and put it back in another system and put the BAK file back into the original place, and you're back where you started.
Yep. I just have to have time to do it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that once you set up SSH, and you can log in from another computer using Linux.
One sec, Jennifer.
You can go and do it remotely. You don't have to actually be there with a terminal and a keyboard.
Well, except for the physical hardware part of it. Hang on a sec, I got a question here on the stream. No, Jennifer, you don't have to register the radio, but you do have to have the amateur radio license for the frequency and the band and the mode that you're operating in. I'm going to close the net actually here, and then we can talk more about it if you have more interest or more questions. I'm glad to answer them. Alright, well, it looks like I have a few radio-related questions here on the stream, so I think I'm going to go ahead and close the net out here, Jim, and switch over and finish up the live stream.
Yeah, I think my battery is starting to show signs of use from the high power. Anyhow, glad to touch base with you. Thanks for a good net, and I'll let you close it out. K2BHM.
Alright, very good. Good to touch base with you too. Glad you got your servo thing worked out. I know that's been frustrating you for a long time. And thanks for participating with the net and supporting it. That said, this is K2IIN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. The Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net is sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club, located in beautiful Ulster County, New York. If you want to know more about our club, you can always visit our website at www.omarkclub.org. That's whiskey, Oscar, Mike, Alpha, Romeo, Charlie, Lima, Uniform, Bravo, Oscar, Romeo, Golf. Thanks to all those who participated. This is K2IIN saying 7-3, inviting you to join us again next week. Don't forget we have another net here on this repeater at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, except for the third Thursday of the month, which is when we have our meetings. To find out more about our meetings, also go to our website. That Thursday night net is more of a rag choose sort of net, and usually topic oriented, and usually much more related to technical and radio type stuff. So don't forget to check that out with K2JLV. That is all. Thanks to all those who participated with the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Everyone have a great evening. 7-3 is K2IIN is clear. This frequency is back under regular amateur use, and the net is closed. Great grandfather had not been used for a long time. Oh, so that's an old tube gig, huh?
Thanks, CJ. Yep, I think my battery's about had. K2BHM.
Oh no, Geeky, it's not all written down. It's not all written down. It's all up here, man. I got lines and lines and lines of code in my head. Okay, it's a tube job. All right. First thing you're probably gonna want to do is find. What you should do really is look around for an amateur radio club in your area. What area of the country are you in? Are you in the U.S.? I would find an amateur radio club. Find one of the old time guys who was into tubes, and ask them if they have a Variac. Canada, okay. Our Canadian friends. Ask them if they have a Variac, and tell them that you have an old radio that's from your great-great-grandfather, and you want to bring it up and see if it's still operational or usable, or if it needs repair. Because those guys have a tremendous amount of knowledge, and you wouldn't want to take an old tube-type radio and just plug it in, because those old capacitors in there have not been charged in forever, most likely. And if you just plug it in, it'll throw a surge voltage on them, and it can blow them up, and you could have a real mess on your hands. So instead of that, I would go to an amateur radio guy who knows what he's doing with tubes, and have him bring it up on a Variac. And Variac basically gives him the option to bring the voltage up really slowly, so those capacitors can charge slowly and not turn into a stick of dynamite on you, basically. So he would be able, somebody like that would be able to look over the rig. If you don't have anybody you know, I have people I could point you to, but obviously if you could find somebody close around you, that would be better. I don't know a tremendous amount about Canadian amateur radio clubs, but I know there's a tremendous amount of Canadian amateur radio operators. When my HF stuff is up and online, my HF radios are not connected to antennas right now, but when they are, I talk to Canadian guys all the time. I have a lot of good Canadian friends. So I know that that community is active up there, and there are certainly guys who would know how to bring that radio up. But that's the advice I would give you. Don't just go plug it in. Have somebody who's experienced with tubes and that sort of thing bring it up and check it over for you. But that's an awesome, awesome heirloom thing to have. And if you can get it working again, boy, that would be really cool. Oh, the spelling that gets you? Oh, yeah, no, that's the phonetic alphabet. That I have memorized. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, and so on. Yeah, that's awesome, Jennifer. Well, I hope that you can get that working and all. That would be great. I don't have any heirloom stuff in my family. In fact, I got my ham license before my dad did, and I got him to go get his license because I got mine. So I spawned the old generation to go get licensed. A little backwards from the norm, but. How's your tomatoes doing, Geeky? They springing up? And Jennifer, by the way, I'm really glad you joined the live stream here. Just glad to have another participant, so thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Out of curiosity, what part of Canada are you in? Alberta. Okay, nice. Found your first 2 blossoms on the Amish paste already, Geeky? That's awesome. Blossoms already. Wow, so those are cranking then, huh? I'm trying to think. You've only had them in like... you must have had them in like, what, 6 weeks now? 5, 6 weeks? 2 feet tall. Wow. Okay, they're cranking. They're cranking. Well, all I can say is I've got a couple of tomatoes that made it through the frost. We've had 2 frosts, and they're still going. I'm still eating tomatoes right off the vine fresh, so that's pretty exciting. It's the first time I've had tomatoes actually survive frost, and then multiple frosts. And they weren't hard frosts, but nonetheless, I consider that to be a pretty significant improvement. Do you have a garden or anything, Jennifer, out of curiosity? Ah, you do? Okay. So you have multiple interests in this as well. Cool. What do you grow? What's your favorite thing? Planted outside first week of October. Oh, they're only 3 weeks old and you got flowers on already. That's fast. You got the heat and humidity down there though, huh? See, up here we put stuff out in the end of May or early June, but we don't really get any real heat until middle or end of June usually. And unfortunately, that heat isn't paired with any kind of humidity. It's usually it goes hot and dry fast when it does, with the exception of storms between. Although this year was nice. Tomatoes, nice. What's your favorite tomato, Jennifer? I'm a beefsteak fan myself. I like the crimson beefsteaks the best. So far. Although, the black crims are delicious too. Although I gotta get some more seeds of those. I don't have seed for those anymore. Oh, you buried them deep so they rooted out fast and took off. Yeah. Plus, you started them in the lab inside, right? You transplanted on the first week of October, right? They weren't started from seed there, right? So you had established plants. Beefsteak you like too, yeah. I just tried a new one this year, the San Marzano Redorta Italiano. it's a San Marzano, well, this is one that's starting to get some rots on it, but it's a San Marzano tomato. Like a plum, but a massive plum. Oh, the flavor on these is killer. I didn't have time to make sauce this year. I don't really have like a real kitchen set up yet, so I didn't get to make any sauce, but I would love to make some sauce and salsa with those next year. Probably will. '92. First part of September. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And then you buried them 6 inches so they just blow up on roots. There you go. So they're really like 7, 8 weeks old. Right. That makes more sense with the flower. 92. Oh man, we hit like 60 today, 62 maybe. And then it rained. Oh, you have greenhouses there too? Oh, nice. Are you on a farm? I have a greenhouse here, but it's not that big. It's only 24 by 12. But I love it, and I love experimenting in it and being in it. Oh, you are on a big farm. Okay. Awesome. Lucky you. Storm of the Gulf took away your cooler weather. Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, so I'm on a 112 acre farm here, Jennifer, but it's been abandoned for well, at least 30 years, if not 50, as far as farming goes. So I'm the first one to kind of start farming this land again. And in fact, when I first started farming it, I had to clear a lot of like rose bushes and trees and stuff out of the way that had grown up in the years since it was last farmed. And I'm low budget, small scale for now, but I'm kind of learning to grapple my way to bigger operations with half a shoestring budget. I just love it. I have a lot of passion for it. So, kind of gives you an idea what sort of space I'm on here. If you haven't checked out any of my greenhouse videos, you might want to. Doing some fun things in there. Yeah, that's I have that trouble in the spring sometimes, Geeky, starting seedlings. If I start them too early, I gotta stretch them too long, and if I start them too late, they burn up on me. And I like direct sowing, but man, if you have any kind of weed pressure, that can be tough. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, you learn a whole lot more, because every mistake costs you half your shoestring. Yeah, I like to do stuff small scale, make my mistakes small scale, and scale things up. I haven't figured out how to make a profit yet, really. But I eat a lot of my own healthy food, and I'm kind of building a community of people who appreciate it, so it's coming. And I do sell some of my produce, so I'm at least able to, cover a portion of my nutrient cost and operation cost. And I added bees, well, last fall really, but this is my first season with bees, so that was incredibly productive, and I plan to scale that up a lot. So yeah, I'm planning on it. UT33. You guys are thinking right along the same line. And by the way, hello, good to see you in. Yeah, that's my plan. Actually, this tomato here is one that I'm saving for seed, and with the trace mineral nutrition, I did great with the bees. I'll tell you about that in a sec, Jennifer. With the nutrition, you can actually amplify the potential of that seed from season to season, in addition to the acclimatization effect and all the other stuff with the organics. And I'm using those foliar feeds to amplify that dramatically. I do have a couple of videos on the blue corn that I was working with like that. You can see the kernel size go massively bigger every year, as well as number of ears in some degrees. I haven't gotten my soil quite that tuned yet, but yeah. I did really well with the bees this year. I did about 110 pounds of honey. I've got 3 hives. I knew absolutely nothing when I started, and over this summer I learned absolutely a lot, and enough to know that I still know nothing. No, I've learned a tremendous amount. Anyway, I did really well. Got about 110 pounds of honey, about 2.5 pounds of wax. And I'm excited because now I understand them better, and I can expand and do splits and hopefully get up to a scale. I think the bees and the honey is actually what's going to help me turn my farming operation, at least not profitable maybe yet, but at least break even would be a good start. And either way, they are such a cool creature to study and interact with. Really amazing what they do and how they do it. So yeah. Lucky to make mistakes, and while it's not critical, when it gets critical, I need to grow food for. Yeah, that's true, Geeky. Yeah, they are, Jennifer. Yeah, they are. Do you guys have bees on your farm, or you haven't jumped into that yet? Yeah, Geeky. Making those small mistakes is good. Well, yeah, the value. I mean, like in all honesty, like I do want to like make at least part of my living from farming, but really the bigger part of it is putting good, healthy food in my stomach and my friends and family's stomach when I can, because it is so valuable. Oh, your first year with bees too? Awesome. It's fun, huh? I've wanted bees for years, but I was always I didn't have the money to go out and like buy a bee setup and do it, and I was also a little apprehensive because I didn't know that much. Yeah, I knew you'd agree on that. But then last fall, a friend of a friend was selling a lot of his homestead equipment, including the tractor that I picked up and the beehives, and I got a killer deal on the beehives. I got all 3 hives plus a whole bunch of hive parts and equipment for about $500, bees included, of course. So that's how I got into it. I was a little apprehensive about taking 3 hives at once, but that turned out to be great. And man, they're really easy to manage. Like after farming and breaking my ass out in the field all day to make stuff happen, to come back and like, oh, the bees did all the work. They made all the honey. All I got to do is steal it. That is so easy. Oh, you didn't know you had bees in one child, really? Did you find them or did they find you? Your 0th year, yeah. Yeah, but you got to pick up some new ones, Geeky. You'll do okay. Waiting for another swarm. There you go. Make sure they're not Africanized, Geeky. You're down in the south there. They found you. Yeah, they're pretty smart. I hope they didn't find you too horribly. I hope they were gentle. Okay. Yeah, they're pretty sweet usually, unless you do something to really tick them off. Geeky. GDP isn't entirely sure theirs are Africanized. They think possibly partially, but they're much more docile than some of the super Africanized. I'm just saying, because you're in the southern climate, you ought to be careful. That said, if you're wearing your bee suit and, you know, the bees are calm and nice and they work with you okay, you probably don't have Africanized bees. But I'm just saying, be careful. I don't want to see you get stung to death by the wrong colony of bees. Yeah, when I saw their video and I realized that they produced double the honey, I kind of was like, maybe I should try some. And I'm like, no. I like my nice docile girls. I like that I can go out and sit 5 feet from the hive and they don't come after me. And if they do come after me, they don't follow me 1,000 yards away, because they can fly faster than I can run. I can move out on my feet, but I still can't get faster than they can fly. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Geeky. That actually, I was thinking about that recently because I've done some crossbreeding and backbreeding with different plants. My thought was, if you took the Europe honeybees and you worked with an Africanized honeybee, again, you'd have to do a controlled environment, very much like the guy who created the Africanized bees in the first place, and that's a dangerous proposition. But if you could do all that under a controlled environment and work that cross and keep back crossing against the Africanized till you get to a calm bee that's super productive, that would be awesome. But then that's what he was trying to accomplish initially, and well, lots of people have died as a result, so. Which I guess is an excellent point about where GMO could take us. Yeah, I can just about teleport too, Geeky. I've had a few of those moments where teleportation was necessary. like Wile E. Coyote, where he like pauses off the cliff and then suddenly, doof, he's gone. Yeah, like that, but horizontal. A rattler will do that to you. So will a pissed off honeybee, or worse yet, a wasp nest. My brother was a painter before he passed on, and when I was younger, I helped him on many a painting job. We did this one painting job down in Poughkeepsie, Fox Hill condos. And the soffits of all of these condos overlapped the roof of the next condo, like double stacked on both sides. And all of those soffits were loaded with yellow jacket nests. I mean, loaded. We went up there with like 2 cases of spray and like 6 guys. And 2 of us would go in and attack a nest, or 2 nests at a time. And then 2 guys, 1 for each, would cover them from behind. And then 2 other guys would post out on the edges of the roof, because anything that you missed, they would fly out off of under the soffit, away from your poison spray, out off the roof and around, and you could see them coming back in to approach and attack again. So when they'd come back in to attack, the guys out of the edge of the roof would shoot them down. We took out probably 50,000 yellow jackets, easily probably that, in a couple of hours on these roofs. And it turned out to be fun. None of us got stung or anything. But it definitely took a team attack method, and you had to be watching, because some of them would, there were bushes nearby and trees too. So they'd go out and they'd hide in the bushes or trees, and then trying to come out when you weren't paying attention. And that's when we got wise and put 2 guys on the edge of the roof. Yeah, the underground ones are bad. I've run into them before. I've run into all kinds of yellow jackets. In fact, on my channel here, I don't know if you saw that one, Geeky, but I have a video of the yellow jacket nest that was in the barn. Was it last year? I think it was last year. Almost like an omen to the honeybees coming. I actually coexisted with them until they froze out from cold. No, they don't like being stepped on. I've had them coming in the greenhouse when I'm processing wax or honey. In fact, they were pretty high pressure when I was extracting honey. And the thing I found that's simple and effective for that is the torch. I got a piezoelectric ignition on a little propane torch. I just light that up, and I wait till they go to the fluorescent light, and I just come up with a torch and toof. Sometimes I'll cook them out of the air and then finish them on the ground, but I like it better when they're stopped by the light and I can get a good torch beam on them. Anyway, yeah, that was an interesting experience. I wonder if I can dig up any pictures of those condos. I bet I can. If I could find them in boxes of stuff. I've coexisted with them before, you know, like I said, but now that I have honeybees and I've seen them go after my honeybees and go after my honeybee colonies, this fall they were trying to get in and rob my honeybees, and I saw how much pressure that puts on them. Actually, that didn't even do it for me. What finally did it was one stung me in the neck in the greenhouse when I was working. I was like, oh no, not in my greenhouse you don't. And that's when I just went ballistic with a torch and smoked everyone that came in. Yeah, the cattle step. Oh, that must be horrible for the cattle. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have too many in-ground yellow jacket nests here. Once in a while, we had a wicked white-faced hornet nest last year in the ground here, right in the spot where I go through with the mower. So that was interesting mowing. I didn't get stung, but I was also very careful around that nest. Bumblebees, we get a lot of in-ground nests here, and actually I had one of those when I was mowing this year too. Again, I didn't get stung, but I noticed them really quick. Since I was a little kid and I got stung by wasps and yellow jackets and all that kind of stuff, I'm always super weary about looking for them, especially when I'm mowing or going through an area that I'm not frequenting. So I'll hear them or see them pretty quick. My radar is tuned to them, because they're one of those things that if you see them quick, you can usually get out of their way or, you know, respond to them fast enough not to get stung. And if you don't see them, they're going to do you pretty good, given they can sting over and over and over. And I don't know if you know it or not, but yellow jackets and bald-faced hornets both, not only can they sting you with that venom, they can actually squirt that venom in your eyes or in your mouth. So that's something to be wary of too. I didn't even realize that until I saw that on Frederick Dunn's YouTube channel this summer. So something also to be wary of. Another great thing about them. Yeah, I didn't know that either until I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's something we never considered when we were up on that roof at the condos. But we didn't give them a chance to get close. We hammered them hard. But yeah, that's what I said. Wow, oh, that's something to be aware of. I didn't know that. And I forgot there was another, I don't think it was even an insect that produces venom. Oh, it was one of the snakes, I think, or maybe several of them can also shoot their venom from a distance, and if it gets in your eye, obviously that's bad. No bald-faced hornets there. Oh, but be glad you don't, Geeky, because man, I'd rather take on 10 yellow jacket colonies than one bald-faced hornet colony. In fact, if you haven't seen the video, go look at Frederick Dunn's channel, white-faced or bald-faced hornets, where he torches their nest and they come back again and again and again. They're incredibly resilient and super, super capable of attack. Really good video of how nasty they really are. Critters are smaller in Florida. Well, you know, except for the gators and the pythons and... Yeah, they are great guards. They are. That's undeniable. But if they're interfering with me or my bees, then I can't accept that. I have to say, I have a lot of wasp nests, like mud wasp nests around here, and I have had 0 stings from them, 0 trouble from them. And although I always see them around, they don't mess with me as much. In fact, the only time I've had a mess with me is when I'm laying out in the sun and they'll come up and like bounce off me. And I've had a couple of, like, not really a sting, but like they kind of nab you with a stinger on the way by. and then I get pissed and hunt that particular wasp down. But other than that, I don't find they bother me, and I haven't seen them bother the honeybee nests at all. So I think I much prefer the mud wasps. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, there's nothing more annoying than you're trying to lay out in the sun and catch a little sun. And it's hard enough to find time to do that, and then have a wasp come along and mess with you. I'm all good till you attack me. When you attack me, all bets are off. Yeah, they do a lot of pollinating, and they also capture a lot of the parasitic insects that we tend to think of as pests, even though they're actually just cleanup crew. They can help keep those populations in check, so they're actually excellent. They love to piss off the skunks. The skunks? I'm not familiar with that term. Or is that a typo? Skunks? The skunks? Is that what you mean? Skunks, okay, yeah. Really? That's interesting. The skunks have been pissing me off lately. They've been digging up all my mulch in the garden beds. And I dug sweet potatoes today and I found they've been chewing on them too. I've seen them out there every night, and they haven't messed with my beehives too much because my beehives are set high enough they have to expose their belly to go for the bees so they get stung, so they don't mess with them. So I've let them go because they're part of the natural ecosystem, and I don't like to just kill things. But after seeing the damage they're doing, I'm like, if they keep this up next year, I'm going to start putting some bullets in some skunks. Which I hate to do, but unfortunately that's a lot cheaper than fencing. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Huh, that's interesting. Well, like I said, I don't mess with the yellow jacket nest if they don't mess with me. In fact, I did find the source of the nest of the ones that were stinging me in the greenhouse, and as easily as I could have put them out of commission, I left them. Although I don't know what their population is like after I keep coming in the greenhouse and getting smoked. I think it's lower. I definitely have still seen a bunch working pieces of honeybee frames and stuff. But whatever, they haven't messed with me, so I'll let them go. Pappy knew the trash schedule. Yeah, I bet he did. Yeah, mine comes in and he digs up, he's going after the worms under the mulch, I think. And, you know, tubers and whatever else he can find, grubs, all kinds of stuff, I'm sure. Because I build these real heavy mulch layers, and like if you peel that mulch layer back, there's worms galore under there. And so I see where like he comes in and he like digs this little hole down through the mulch, which wouldn't be a big deal except that he does it here and he goes over 6 inches and 6 inches and 6 inches, and next thing you know your whole mulch has holes all through it. And that's where the weeds come up, and next thing you know, your mulch is not mulching. Great. Yeah, I'm the same way, Kiki, and even if they overstep the line a little bit, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, if competition gets too fierce, then I have to take action. Sad fact. But I definitely lean on the side of, you know, spare life if I can. I'd much rather do that. I hate killing anything. Unless I'm going to eat it, and even that, you know, I don't enjoy the kill. But I recognize, you know, the trade-off. Rats, roaches, and rattlers. Ugh, no thanks. We got rats here. Roaches, I mean, I've heard of people having roaches in their apartments, but I haven't had any here and hope never to. Rattlers we have, but the rattlers are only in the hills here. Taconic Hills, Catskill Mountains. I mean, we do have some around here. Yeah, I don't like to see any animal hurt or killed if it doesn't have to be. I mean, I see no greater harm toward nature than unnecessarily killing or harming something. And that goes for all plants, animals, and humans. That's not just specific to animals, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you don't have a reason to kill it, why are you killing it? That's just dumb. Yeah, too many of the 3 R's. Well, fortunately, at least the rattlers cancel out some of the rats. I doubt the rats cancel any roaches for you. We've got mice, chipmunks, and squirrels, and woodchucks, and skunks, and possums. Possums usually aren't too much trouble, although they do mess up the mulch too. And I have had them like chew on stuff, steal vegetables and stuff, but they're less of a problem than the skunk on that. And then, yeah, the real ones I hate are the rats and the mice and the chipmunks. The chipmunks do more damage on seeds than anything else. Like, they'll go in the greenhouse and dig up every seed flat, like every 2 days, so nothing can germinate. Like I got to a point this season where it's like I saw a chipmunk and it was like, man, you better not come within range because I will stomp you. Unfortunately, there's thousands of them around. I don't have time to like sit out there with a rifle and pick them off. I wouldn't even make a dent in the population, so I don't know what to do about that. There were a couple of trays I screened with 1/4-inch mesh, and that did it, but I can't 1/4-inch mesh the entire greenhouse. This is getting ridiculous on an infrastructure level, you know. Yeah, the black racers are good for that, huh? Keep the other snakes away, and they still eat the mice and the rats and that kind of stuff. We have a lot of coral snakes and milk snakes around here, which I understand aren't poisonous. We do have some copperheads here, which are poisonous. And I've almost sat on a 3-foot copperhead here down in Tivoli Bays. That was scary. They're usually, you know, pretty docile, and they move away from you. Like, they're usually not a problem. But the disadvantage is they don't have the rattle. You don't get a warning, an audible warning from them. And like I said, I almost sat on one down Tivoli Bays. My friend and I were down looking at the river, the Hudson River. We both had a coffee in our hand. We went to sit down on this beach, and we literally almost sat on a 3-foot copperhead. We were both like, whoa! But I used to come across them all the time on the surveying job, and, you know, I'd just move around them. Or if I had to go in that spot, I'd, you know, push them away with a machete or a stick. They'd move off and go do their thing. No snakes is kind of nice, Jennifer. They can surprise you at inopportune times. I don't mind them so much around here because I'm usually, my eyes are peeled. I usually will see them if I'm walking. But like if you're climbing, if you're into climbing and that kind of thing, that's where it gets sketchy. And those rattlers hang out on those cliff ledges. So you could go put a hand up to grab a ledge, catch a fistful of rattler venom. So that's not cool. But I don't do much climbing, so I'm not too concerned about it. Anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and roll this net up because I got a few more things I got to do in the greenhouse. And yeah, except for moccasins. Yeah, I've heard that about them. And they're more of a water snake, which is really scary. To go for a swim and have a snake come at you. No thanks. But then, why would you want to swim in snake and alligator infested waters? I don't know. Those noodler guys are crazy. Going into alligator infested waters and reaching under ledges for a fish. We have a northern version of that we used to do up here, but but we don't have alligators here. You might run into a snapping turtle, which, you know, that could be bad, but I'd way rather a snapper than a rattler. You can take my hand, but if you're going to take my arm, no thanks. Hey, thanks for coming in, UT33200. Good to see you guys. And yeah, hey, thanks for coming in. Have a good night. Jennifer, thanks for joining. Glad you joined us. Hope you'll join us again next week. Geeky, always a pleasure. Whoever else is watching out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for participating in the Pharmacy Seeds Network YouTube live stream. I hope everyone has a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Geeky, I'll probably see you Friday at Homesteading the Hard Way. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. 7 3s, as we say on the amateur radio.